So basically, the 7th Marines showed up quite a while after the 1st Marines landed on Guadalcanal and spent quite a bit capturing the first kind of half of the island.
Hey, Johnny Rapp, it's your turn.
Oh, this one here is from a buddy of mine back in Mobile. Dear Sid, I hope this gets to you before your birthday. You wouldn't recognize home now. Thousands of workers are pouring into the shipyards. The Gulf is blacked out now because of the U-boats. Your sister and I went down to... Your sister and I went down to see the wreckage of a ship they sunk. She's worried about you, of course, but I told her a greaser like yourself is too crafty for the Japs. Truth is, you're the lucky one, Sid. You'll never have that nagging thought that you let your family, your friends, and your country down. Because that's what I'm afraid of.
You're up. Run control. On your feet. Let's go.
Hey, finish it.
So, I'll leave you knowing that, like the poem says, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din. You're humble and obedient servant, Eugene Sledge.
You and I had a off-the-air conversation about a year ago, and he closed his letters even to you that way.
He would close his letters to me that way. I can remember, he would leave notes, like little Post-it notes. He'd, scribble it, and I mean, his handwriting looked just like when he signed his name. And he would sign it YHAOS, Dad. Your humble and obedient servant. Everything, every time, he always signed it YHAOS, Dad.
Now, was that something that they had in the book, or was that something your mom or maybe your brother or yourself relayed to them that they would get that to apply that to the script?
I think they had to have gotten that from us, because that didn't come from With the Old Breed. I think that was somewhere in the conversations. And, my mother was still in wonderful health back then, and they had some great conversations with her and with me. My brother, not as much, but a little. But I'm sure that the little idiosyncratic behaviors of any main character are going to try to be picked up by the production team. And I'm sure, Eugene always signed his letters and his notes YHAOS.
Or maybe a keen-eye production assistant was looking through some letters that maybe the Phillips family gave him or your mom gave him and started noticing a pattern. Like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he and Sid would have written letters back and forth. I've never actually seen a letter, and God, I had some lovely interactions with Sid Phillips throughout the course of this and reconnecting with his family back at this point in time. But I wish I'd been able to ask him, do you have any letters my dad wrote you? Yeah. I don't know that he did. He might have.
Well, it would have been a lot harder for him to have. It would have been easier for your father to have letters from him because your father would have been at home, and it would have been easier to him to put them in a drawer, whereas Sid's out in the jungle, rotted away, and they're gone.
Sure.
Now, this is another one of those scenarios that I wonder. Marine Corps is huge. Battalions, platoons, squads, all that. You got a lot of Marines. I wonder what the likelihood of a Sid Phillips and a Robert Leckie having multiple in-depth conversations. Did they know each other in passing? Obviously, I'm sure they interacted at some point, but it makes you wonder if they would have actually had this kind of in-depth conversation between the two.
Sid and I actually talked about that. He did know Leckie. This was not just hey, Sid Phillips, who was Eugene Sledge's best friend, was in the same. He was in H-21, same outfit as Robert Leckie. Sid he said, I knew Leckie. I remember him. Now, where you get into a little bit of creativity, and I have no problem with the way they did it, because K3, my dad came on out ended up flunking out of officers training, on purpose, ended up getting into boot camp, shipping out, getting into in theater, March of 44, getting onto Pavuvu, where, of course, 1st Marine Division would have just come off of Cape Gloucester at that point in time. And so the new guys are filtering in. Some guys are going home. Here's a young Eugene Sledge getting into the Pacific Theater. And they have the scene where he goes into the library tent and meets Robert Leckie. Now that that probably never happened. Could it have happened? It's possible. But what is not artistic license and what is absolutely true is Sid Phillips did know Robert Leckie. I can only imagine, we both have kids, Don. I mean, can you imagine having to examine your child and say, yeah, you're physically fit to go into that slaughterhouse?
Well, not only you got to battle yourself, but you got to battle your wife who doesn't want him to go.
Yeah, exactly. So I really thought the way they handled these scenes was very well done. I mean, I just can't say enough about the guy who played my grandfather. And look, I mean, I don't think enough credit goes to Joe Mazzello. I thought Joe did an excellent job. I know that he was a serious-minded young man. He took a lot of, he just brought a very, very serious comportment and attitude towards playing my father because we had some phone conversations. I don't think he gets enough credit, to be honest with you. Joe's done well. He just did a romantic comedy with a really beautiful girl. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, Joe's done pretty well. But yeah, so he and my grandfather are talking through how they're gonna break the news to my grandmother, basically. But they also show our my grandfather and father's dog Deacon, the spaniel, there lying on the floor, which would have been accurate. My grandfather and my dad both absolutely adored dogs.
Now, I'm a little partial on the subject. Did your grandmother get the Boston Terrier before or after your father came back from the war? Could they not put a Boston Terrier in the show?
Hang on. So
obviously they're introducing Deacon to the storyline because they make reference to it in the letter later. And
I showed you this picture? So
yeah, you've actually sent me that photo.
Deacon is there, and then I think that is Captain.
And then there's another photo, which we'll insert now, I found on Google, and it's your grandparents, your father, and both their Boston Terriers. They had two of them. They're like in a garden near a koi pond or something.
So my grandmother had the Boston Terrier that was in the photograph there. His name was Captain. I just remember that was the dog I remember. Dad always talked about Deacon, but my grandmother always talked about Captain. And I remember her telling me stories about Captain when I was a kid. Well, now we're really deep diving on some Sledge trivia here. This was Captain's collar. But there's a brass plate on it, which I know you probably can't read. I'll read it to you. It says Captain Jinx, Mrs. E.S. Sledge, Mobile, Alabama.
Does it have little spike studs on it?
Yeah, it's got little spike studs on it. That was Captain's collar.